glad you can join us. Here's what we have for you this Monday. A question of confidence in the budget. Is it yay or nay?
What Canadians want is to invest in their country.
The chances an election is waiting in the wings.
I would have been like every other woman who discovered it when it was too late.
Why cervical cancer is threatening a comeback.
A grieving family member, a victim of an absolutely heinous crime.
Plus, grave accusations against an Ontario duo.
CTV National News with Sandy Ronaldo.
Thumbs up or thumbs down on the Liberals' budget with a crucial confidence vote during the dinner hour. It is a big test of Mark Carney's government, but getting closer to a sure thing. Let's bring in CTV senior political correspondent Mike Licaturo. Okay, Mike, someone called this a big game of chicken. So what's going on? Where do things stand right now?
Yeah, Sandy, right now the Liberals do not have the numbers, but there is some shifting in those votes. Let's lay the groundwork for you right now. We have the Bloc Québécois MPs who have said already they're going to vote no to this budget. Conservatives are strongly hinting they will do the same. But mid-afternoon, the Liberals were able to get one more opposition vote on their side. Have a listen.
I will vote yes to avoid an election. I will vote yes in the confidence that the Prime Minister heard my pleas and committed to meeting our legally binding commitments under the Paris Agreement, committing to reconciliation, committing to action for adaptation to protect us from the extreme events we can no longer avoid.
All right, Sandy, so now all eyes are on the NDP and their 7 MPs. They haven't really indicated just yet which way they will vote, but here is the math for the Liberals. They need either 2 opposition MPs to abstain or one of them to vote for the government. If that does not happen, then that budget will be defeated, and because it's a confidence motion, we could be headed to an election. But that is why on Parliament Hill right now, there is still a lot of discussions going on.
Okay, nothing is over until it's over. I'm going to put you on the spot here, Mike. If you were a betting man, what's the likelihood that Canadians are facing an election they don't want?
Yeah, I've learned long ago, Sandy, not to bet on politics, and especially with razor-thin margins like this one today. But certainly Mark Carney seems to be betting on the fact that his budget will pass. We caught up with him a little earlier this morning. Have a listen to what he said.
What Canadians want is to invest in their country. A confident budget, a budget that moves forward, brings us together from local infrastructure to new ports, new future, more independent, stronger Canada, better Canada for all. And that's the opportunity for parliamentarians to vote today.
So, Sandy, 6:45 Eastern Time, that is the time of this vote, and that is when we will know whether or not Prime Minister Mark Carney's government will live to fight another day. Sandy?
All right, Mike, thank you so much. Now, the vote is happening as Statistics Canada released cooler October inflation numbers thanks to falling grocery and gas prices. But you'd be hard-pressed to find Canadians who agree they're paying less at the pump or when they shop. CTV's John Vanavalli-Rao went out to take a measure of the costs that Canadians are facing. Hey, John.
Sandy, motorists have been getting a bit of a break at the pumps lately, and that's largely fueling the inflation cooldown.
While the price of gas is still higher than many drivers would like, StatsCan says the cost for that fill-up has been coming down, with prices falling more than 9% compared to a year ago and 4% in the last month. In part as motorists switch to less expensive winter gas blends, along with another big factor.
This is still being affected by the removal of the carbon tax earlier this year.
And at the grocery store, prices also coming down, falling more than 0.5% from September to October, the biggest monthly drop since 2020. While year over year, prices are still up 3.4%.
Maybe I've seen some small relief in some areas, but still generally higher than they have been.
A lot of things are definitely still pretty expensive. Some things are definitely a thorn in my side, like the price of beef, for example.
The 1-month fall attributed in part to the elimination of many counter tariffs on U.S. products.
The food inflation rate dropped, which is certainly good news, and we were expecting it, to be honest. There's less pressure at the border. Counter tariffs are gone now since September 1st, and it's helping.
It's all contributing to overall inflation, coming in at 2.2% in October, down from the previous month, though notably some items getting a lot more expensive. Cell phone plan prices rising around 7% year over year, as did home and mortgage insurance and car insurance.
When we talk about stickiness of underlying inflation, insurance is really a big issue, and it's a big issue right across Canada. And I'm sure most homeowners and people, vehicle owners are really feeling this.
Rent also up 5% year over year.
Meanwhile, the numbers released today has economists now betting that the Bank of Canada will hold interest rates steady for the rest of the year. Sandy.
Okay, John, thank you so much. Now, if you're also trying to make sense of the housing market, there's CREA, the Canadian Real Estate Association, saying that lower interest rates will help boost sales. But at the same time, there's a tighter supply with fewer houses changing hands today than a year ago. CTV's Adrian Gobriel does a deeper dive into navigating the housing market. Adrian.
Sandy, the housing picture has a different facade depending on where you're located in the country. Here north of Toronto in Newmarket, Ontario, a single mother bought this home behind me back in 2017. Now desperate to sell, for months she struggled to even get a single offer.
I have to basically beg people to come and just even look at the house. I've been struggling.
Miriam Mousavi admits she's barely making ends meet. As a real estate agent in the Greater Toronto Area, her net income has dropped significantly as housing sales have dried up.
200 to 300K versus for past year, I think I didn't make more than 50K.
The national average sale price of a home sold in October was just over $690,000, down 1.1% from a year ago, according to the Canadian Real Estate Association.
If you're in Quebec or you're in Saskatchewan or you're in Atlantic, you're in good shape. If you're in Ontario or British Columbia or maybe even Calgary, you got some issues.
This home east of Toronto was purchased in September 2024 for $2.3 million. Last month, it sold for $1.2 million, a seven-figure drop due to a power of sale.
Once the banks don't receive a full payment, they will notify the borrower. If it's not fully caught up at the end of 3 months, the banks will turn, by law, the banks will turn the house over to their legal group to move forward with a power of sale or foreclosure action. They're up 90% compared with what they were just a few months ago.
Losing her home to the banks is a real possibility for Mousavi if she can't sell her home soon.
I almost lost the house. With no income, I couldn't even pay my mortgage, and I have to sell the house.
The Canadian Real Estate Association expects the country's housing market to become more active in 2026, though some mortgage and housing experts we spoke with say that the economic uncertainty could lead to prolonged pain for many. Sandy.
All right, CTV's Adrian Gobriel. Adrian, thank you. A stunning turn of events with the Canadian Cancer Society raising the alarm over cervical cancer, warning that rates are no longer declining after Canada was on track to eliminate the disease. CTV's Sarah Plowman now on what's behind the downward trend when there's prevention. Sarah.
Sandy, the new data suggests Canada could fall short of its commitment to eliminate cervical cancer by 2040. Every day, hundreds of Canadians hear those dreaded words, "You have cancer." For Linda Wu, that moment happened 35 years ago when she saw a doctor for her pregnancy and learned she had cervical cancer.
If I hadn't gotten pregnant, I wouldn't have known. I would have been like every other woman who discovered it when it was too late.
A new report shows after a long period of steady decline, cervical cancer rates have plateaued, even though experts say it's preventable.
This really highlights that we aren't making the progress that we had seen before.
For women aged 35 to 55, cervical cancer is actually increasing.
The rates now in 2022 are the same as they were in 1992.
The report's authors point to several factors behind the shift.
Increased transmission of human papillomavirus, or HPV as some people know it, low uptake of the HPV vaccine, lower cervical screening rates.
Dr. Amanda Selk says cervix cancer doctors are noticing more cancer cases, and some are more advanced.
Cervix cancer is a terrible, terrible disease. And if we can prevent it for so many people, if you can just get yourself screened and follow through with treatment, we treat people all the time and they do really well.
Most cervical cancers are caused by human papillomavirus, HPV. Vaccines are offered in schools, but coverage continues to lag below targets. Screening methods are also changing as provinces move to HPV testing, a move the Canadian Cancer Society wants all governments to follow.
We want to be able to say by 2040, no one will have this cancer in Canada.
The report does show that cancer mortality rates overall have dropped considerably over the last few decades, driven by lung and colorectal cancers.
Right.
Sandy.
All right, CTV's Sarah Plowman. Just when you thought you've heard it all, comes word that an Ontario man and woman are facing a slew of charges in connection with the massive theft of jewelry, urns, and other valuables from mausoleums and cemeteries. CTV's Rahim Ladani with more on what police are calling a callous act.
The Last Supper Mausoleum is one of at least 8 across the Greater Toronto area, which police say has been robbed in recent months.
I was outraged. You stole from the dead. What kind of person are you? Those are the words of a grieving family member, a victim of an absolutely heinous crime.
Halton police say this wasn't a crime of opportunity, but one that took meticulous planning, accusing 45-year-old John Rutch and 31-year-old Jordan Noble of going to cemeteries in broad daylight, often posing as grieving family members. Police allege they would then enter mausoleums and use a tool to break the niche compartments open, stealing jewelry, decorative urns, and even discarding human ashes.
At this point in time, we have reasonable grounds to lay 3 charges for indignity to a dead body.
Police believe the pair committed more than 300 thefts from cremation niches across Toronto, Oakville, Burlington, and the Niagara region. On November 7th, police executed a search warrant at a motel in Niagara Falls. They arrested the duo and found thousands of dollars worth of stolen property. These are nearly 600 of the stolen items which have been recovered by police. Everything from watches to necklaces to very personal keepsakes. And this is just a fraction of the recovered goods because the accused have admitted to melting down many other pieces. The Ontario Association of Cemetery and Funeral Professionals says together with our members, we will continue working collaboratively with law enforcement and our regulator to ensure Ontario's places of remembrance remain safe, secure, and dignified. Investigators believe there are likely other victims who aren't yet aware their niche has been robbed.
And we encourage anyone who may not have been to the site of a loved one recently to check in and ensure it's still secure.
Hundreds of recovered items are now being cataloged and returned to families. But investigators lament many stolen items have likely already been sold at pawn shops. Rahim Ladani, CTV News, Toronto.
Coming up, a surprising about face.
Let the Senate look at it. Let anybody look at it.
Why the U.S. president changed his mind about the Jeffrey Epstein files. Air travel is getting back on schedule south of the border. The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration has lifted all flight reductions that were put in place during the government shutdown. The reductions were meant to combat staffing issues with air traffic controllers, which worsened during the shutdown as they worked without pay. It's a relief for many travelers, with 6 million people expected to fly over the U.S. Thanksgiving weekend. In an unexpected reversal, U.S. President Donald Trump is now urging fellow Republicans to support the release of more Jeffrey Epstein files in a vote expected in Congress tomorrow.
They can do whatever they want. We'll give them everything. Sure, I would. Let the Senate look at it. Let anybody look at it. But don't talk about it too much because, honestly, I don't want to take it away from us. It's really a Democrat problem. The Democrats were Epstein's friends, all of them. And it's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax.
Earlier, Trump posted that he has nothing to hide after he previously opposed efforts to make the documents public. However, facing a potential revolt and multiple Republicans voting against his wishes, his messaging changed. Even if the House votes in favor of unsealing documents, the move still has to go through the Senate. Well, for the first time since Donald Trump took office, American officials from several northeastern states, including the governor of Vermont, are sitting down at the table in St. John's, Newfoundland, with Atlantic Canada's premiers. And that is where we find CTV's Garrett Barry. So, Garrett, what was on the agenda today?
Sandy, Vermont's Republican Governor Phil Scott has been a longtime critic of U.S. President Donald Trump, but today he took that criticism to a Canadian audience.
And as I said, I didn't vote for this president. I'm probably the only Republican governor in the United States that has said so publicly.
The official business of the day, resolutions on regional collaboration in areas like energy and food security. But it's clear that Vermont Governor Phil Scott, co-chair of this meeting, had at least one other goal in mind: winning back the hearts and minds of Canadians.
The message should be simple for us. I know we're all together in New England in saying, we miss you, Canada. We miss our Canadian friends from visiting us, but we understand.
Scott estimated that his state has lost about 5% of its revenue in the tourism industry. It's not all because of tariffs and Canadians turning their back, but it's been a major factor. This meeting between Eastern Canadian premiers and New England governors is a regular occurrence. It's the first one in Canada since Donald Trump's re-election. For this edition, just 3 of the 6 New England states sent high-level representatives: Vermont, Maine, and Massachusetts. Scott was the only American governor in attendance today. He said that's not a snub. It's simply a busy time of year for many of his colleagues. Sandy.
CTV's Garrett Barry. Still ahead, where every citizen is on guard. An inside look at Sweden's unique defense strategy. A lesson for Canadians from the Boy Scouts motto, "Be prepared," and a look to Sweden for being prepared. Now, that country has a defense strategy which instructs citizens on what to do in the event of war. CTV's Genevieve Boschman spoke to Sweden's defense minister in Stockholm about the concept of total defense. Okay, Jen, what is it and how does it work?
Well, Sandy, to many Canadians, civil defense may sound like a Cold War artifact, but here in Sweden, it's not. Every Swede says the government has a role in case of attack or crisis.
This is the shelter room.
Nicholas Ivert's task is to convert this storage space attached to his home into a bomb shelter.
This is all the material which was originally provided by the Swedish state.
Ivert bought this home 3 years ago. Ventilation equipment, airlock, big iron doors included. It was outfitted during the Cold War.
Here you can see a map of all the shelters.
It's one of more than 64,000 shelters in Sweden.
I have to open up for the neighbors, and everyone are allowed to come in here.
Ivert once contacted authorities to see whether it would be possible to decommission the space, turn it into a small apartment.
If you would have asked 20 years ago, maybe, or 10 years ago, but nowadays, there's no chance.
The government says escalating geopolitical tensions, the invasion of Ukraine, have changed the world. Enlisting all citizens to prepare, even if it's only to pack an emergency kit, is part of a concept called total defense that the country's defense minister says is key.
We're not going to get the bang for the buck on the defense investment if we don't have strong and resilient societies.
Canada's Cold War-era shelters have largely been destroyed, abandoned, or turned into museums.
Automatically close in case of an explosion on the outside.
In Sweden, public shelters neglected in peacetime are now getting an overhaul.
Inside there are the power unit.
This one, built in the 1950s, that doubles as a parking garage, has been upgraded to provide shelter to 1,200 people.
We have a warning system with air raid shelters, air raid alarm, and so on. And the air raid shelters is the physical way to protect the population.
Louise Ribbing's love of animals has led her to volunteer at the Royal Stables, riding one of the King of Sweden's horses for exercise.
She's kind of frisky, yeah.
Yes, yes. But she also joined an organization called Blue Star, originally created to protect animals like cows key to the food chain during wartime. It now extends to caring for pets in times of crisis.
It's something that I can help with in the event that the society needs me and my country needs me.
Now, everyone here hopes this will never have to be deployed, of course, but they say it is key to be prepared in case of a crisis. Sandy.
Interesting. Genevieve Boschman in Stockholm. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he has struck a deal with France to buy as many as 100 fighter jets. Zelensky met with French President Emmanuel Macron as Russian drone and missile attacks increased in recent weeks, and with Moscow reportedly gaining ground in Ukraine's southeast. Now, a key railway line that delivers aid to Ukraine was destroyed in what Poland's prime minister calls an unprecedented act of sabotage. An explosive device blew up a portion of the track yesterday. It didn't cause any injuries, but is the latest incident that has Europe on high alert. Several countries have reported incursions into their airspace, with most blaming Russia, something Moscow denies. And new footage released by NATO aims to showcase the power of its modern naval weaponry. This video shows a decommissioned frigate capsizing after being struck by a torpedo from a submarine. The frigate was destroyed during the military exercise, and according to a social media post from NATO, the display was carried out to, quote, verify and demonstrate the striking power that the weapon and submarine represent. A parade is being planned in Saskatchewan to celebrate a massive victory.
Into the end zone, deflected, and it falls to the field. And Gray has just turned green and white.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders, as you know, won the Grey Cup, beating the Montreal Alouettes 25-17. Quarterback Trevor Harris was the game's MVP.
And without you guys, this doesn't happen, man. We're champs forever. Let's go!
Now, Saskatchewan won in their rival stadium, leading the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to post, quote, well, at least the sun will explode one day and none of this will matter. Singer MGK was a headliner at the halftime show, but for Rough Rider fans, nothing sounded better than winning their first championship in a dozen years.
12 years running since 2013. We won, baby! We had trust in our boys, and they got it done! They got it done!
The championship parade will take place at 2 p.m. local time tomorrow in Regina. Thank you for sharing your time with us this Monday. I'm Sandy Ronaldo. Your local CTV News is coming up. And don't forget to join Omar later tonight at 11. Bye for now. Be well, and we'll see you tomorrow, we hope. Take care.